Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. The Dallas Cowboys just made a move that had to happen, and honestly, it was about damn time. After one of the most embarrassing defensive seasons in franchise history, the front office finally pulled the trigger. But here's what keeps me up at night. If we don't get the next decision right, we're staring down another wasted year. Because let me tell you, there's a name floating around right now that could change everything for this defense, and Cowboys Nation has been begging for this guy for years. What's up, Cowboys? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Cowboys. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This channel is all about breaking down everything you need to know about the America's team. Alright, so let's talk about what just went down. According to CBS Texas, the Cowboys officially fired Matt Eberflus just 2 days after the season ended. 2 days. That's how quick they pulled the trigger. And you know what that tells me? This decision was already made before the final whistle even blew. The team finished 7-9, missed the playoffs again, and put together a defensive performance that was nothing short of a disaster. We're talking about a unit that ranked dead last in scoring defense, dead last in passing defense, 30th overall. That's not just underperforming, that's organizational failure on one entire side of the football. And when I say the numbers are ugly, I mean they're historically, embarrassingly ugly. The Cowboys allowed 501 total points this season. Let that number sit with you for a second. 501 points. That's the most points ever allowed in franchise history. We're averaging 31 points given up per game, worst in the entire NFL. You want to know the only Cowboys team that was worse on a per-game basis? The winless 1960 expansion team that allowed 30.8 per game. Think about that comparison for a minute. We're comparing a modern NFL roster with all the resources, coaching, and talent evaluation systems in the world to a team that didn't win a single game in their inaugural season. That right there explains why Matt Eberflus lasted exactly 1 season. But it gets even worse when you look at the turnover situation. This defense managed just 6 interceptions all season long. 6. They finished with 12 total takeaways, which is the second fewest in franchise history. The turnover margin was -9, tied for 29th in the league. Do you understand what that means for a football team? No short fields for the offense, no momentum swings, no game-changing plays that shift the entire energy of a game. You cannot survive in today's NFL with those kinds of numbers, especially when you've got an elite offense that's doing everything right on the other side of the ball. And that's what frustrates me more than anything else about this entire situation. Dak Prescott had one of the best seasons of his entire career. The Cowboys finished with the number 2 offense in the entire league. We're talking about top-tier quarterback play, explosive weapons all over the field, and consistent scoring week in and week out. And all of it was completely wasted, because when your defense is giving up 30 points a game, it doesn't matter how good your offense is. You're fighting an uphill battle every single Sunday. Dak deserved so much better than what he got this year. Jerry Jones released a statement that was respectful, but you could read between the lines. He said the organization has tremendous respect for Matt Eberflus as both a coach and a person, but after reviewing the results, it was clear that change was needed. But here's the line that really caught my attention. He said this is the first step in that process, not the only step, the first step. That tells you everything you need to know. More moves are coming. This isn't the end of the changes. It's just the beginning of what looks like a larger reset.
Now, to be completely fair here, context does matter. This defense was also dealing with the fallout from Jerry Jones's decision to trade Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers before the season started. When you lose a generational pass rusher like that, it changes everything about how your defense can operate. But even acknowledging that reality, this level of collapse is just unacceptable. There's no way around it. And here's something else that can't be ignored. This is now the second straight season Eberflus has been fired. He got let go by the Bears in 2024, and now Dallas just did the same thing. That's a pattern that matters. But here's what really worries me as a fan who's been through this cycle before. This will be the Cowboys' fourth defensive coordinator in 4 years. Dan Quinn in 2023, Mike Zimmer in 2024, Matt Eberflus in 2025, and now we're looking at someone completely new in 2026. The last 5 defensive coordinators Dallas has hired were all former NFL head coaches. At some point, you have to wonder if the constant instability itself becomes part of the problem. How do you build any kind of defensive identity or culture when you're changing the entire philosophy every single year? So here's my honest take on where we're at. Firing Matt Eberflus was absolutely necessary. It was overdue, if anything, and it sends a message that this level of mediocrity and failure won't be tolerated. But the next hire, that one has to be right. We can't afford to get this wrong again. And that brings me to the most exciting part of this entire situation. According to NFL insider Diana Rini, one name to watch for the Cowboys defensive coordinator opening is Brian Flores. When I heard that, I literally sat up in my chair. This isn't some random speculation or clickbait rumor. This is a respected league insider pointing directly at a coach that Cowboys fans have been begging for. And this isn't even the first time his name has come up in connection with Dallas. Back in November, Mike Florio reported that league chatter strongly suggested the Cowboys would be firmly in play for Flores. So this is real. There's legitimate smoke here. Let me tell you why Brian Flores would be an absolute home run hire for this organization. During the 2025-26 season, Flores led the Minnesota Vikings to the number 3 overall defense in the entire NFL, 3rd overall. They allowed 282.6 yards per game and gave up 32 total touchdowns. Compare that to Dallas's 60 touchdowns allowed. That's almost cutting the damage in half. But here's the part that should really get every Cowboys fan excited. Minnesota finished 2nd in the NFL in pass defense. They allowed 158.5 passing yards per game and gave up just 15 passing touchdowns. The Cowboys were dead last in both categories. Flores' defense was elite, exactly where we were horrible. Now I know what some people are going to say. The Vikings weren't great against the run. They ranked 21st. But you know what? That's still better than what Dallas had. Minnesota allowed 1.4 fewer rushing yards per game and gave up 11 fewer rushing touchdowns than we did. So even in their weak area, Flores outperformed what we were dealing with all season long. But this goes way beyond just the statistics. Brian Flores brings something this Cowboys defense has been missing for years: discipline, aggression, and real accountability. His defenses disguise coverages, they blitz creatively, they force quarterbacks into mistakes, and they play fast and physical football. That's exactly the identity this team needs. Imagine our defensive players in a Flores system where the pressure is coming from everywhere and quarterbacks have no idea where the heat is coming from. This defense wouldn't just be better, it would have a real identity for the first time in years. So the big question now is whether Jerry Jones will actually pull the trigger on this. Flores is respected throughout the league. He's intense, demands control, and holds people accountable. That's not always the most comfortable situation in Dallas, given how things have historically operated. But if Jerry is serious about winning another Super Bowl and not just selling hope to the fan base, this is the move. This is the moment where the Cowboys decide whether they're truly ready to evolve and do what it takes to get back to championship football. The next hire has to be right. And from where I'm sitting, Brian Flores checks every single box we need.